Hello, Kino Labs. My name is Jeniffer Vaughan. I'm a 47-year-old single mom of 3 kids, 17, 14, and 10. And a year ago, on February 15th, 2016, I was diagnosed with HIV. I was really sick, and about a week later I was told that I had a diagnosis of AIDS because I had pneumonia and my CD4 count was under 200, which is what basically clarifies you that you're an AIDS patient. But you can get out of an AIDS diagnosis today because of the medication with HIV. It's just so good. So I was asked to answer some questions about exclusion as far as HIV and how it affects me in my life, or maybe others that I know. Just a little bit of background information. I decided to go public with my diagnosis on Facebook about 3 weeks after I was diagnosed. And it was a really good turnout. People were very supportive. And so, but those are family and friends. So about 5 months later, I decided to put out a YouTube video because I couldn't find anything. Well, I really wanted to find somebody like me, and I really just couldn't find somebody like me on YouTube. So, and everything that I found out there was really scary and not very comforting. So I did my own video, and it's about 30 minutes long, and I just basically told my story about what happened to me and how I got it. I got it from an ex-boyfriend who didn't know he had it at the time. And when he found out, he left my name and number with the clinic, and they never contacted me. If they did, I never got a message. So basically that was 2.5 years later. I ended up really sick, and I'd had a lot of symptoms throughout that time that all added up to HIV, but I didn't know it. I didn't realize that I had it. So anyways, I did a video basically to let people know what HIV was, because when I was really sick, I thought that, they said if it had been 10 to 15 years ago that I would have passed away for sure because I was very ill. And I got better, and I always assumed that with HIV I would be really sick forever, and as it turned out, with the medication that I take, I feel totally normal. And I don't want to put a big, bright, happy light on HIV. Nobody really wants HIV. It's affecting your immune system. It's a virus that comes in and attacks the cells that take care of your immunity, and so anytime you get a cold or anything like that, these cells are there to protect you. So the HIV basically just kills those cells, and the HIV works through those cells to replicate, and it just grows inside of your body. So this medication literally pounds down that replication. It wipes out the HIV almost completely to a point where they can't find it in your blood anymore, and that's where I'm at. It's called undetectable when you get to that point. When they found it in my blood, I had 507,000 copies of it in just like a little drop of blood. And there goes my light. So much for being technical here.
2 hours later.
But after I started taking my medication, it didn't take that long. It took a couple months. I got down to a point where I was at like 35 little particles of HIV in my blood when they tested me. And then I got to a point where I was undetectable, where they can't find it anymore. And what that means actually is that it's not that the HIV is gone from my body, it's just hiding dormant. The very few particles that are left are hiding in lymph cells, and the medication can't get to those because they're sleeping basically. They're not doing anything to me. I don't feel any different. I feel the same as I always did. I don't feel sick. HIV doesn't make me sick. I'm not a sick person in any way. I have normal colds. I have normal flus. All of that. I can't transmit the virus to anybody because I am undetectable, and that goes with anybody that's on HIV medication and becomes undetectable. They cannot pass the virus on, and it's been out and about in the news more recently, and it's great news for the HIV community. But with that, even though we have that great information, there's still a lot of stigma that goes with HIV, and really the hardest part about HIV for me, because the physical part of it although in the beginning it was very hard, where I'm at now is fine. I feel fine. I don't feel sick at all. My medication doesn't make me sick. I feel totally normal. I'm supposed to live the same life as I always would. My life expectancy is the same. And like I said, I'm not a sick person. I'm healthy. I surf, I skateboard, I'm incredibly active. I feel normal. But what is bad about HIV is now there's this title. I'm the girl with HIV. And although in my setting, I don't feel that it affects me too much. So there's a lot of questions, but in the world, and a lot of people I know, because I now have a private page for women who are HIV positive, and I see what they go through. I also know, a handful of straight men who are HIV positive, who are fearful of ever dating again. So a lot of social issues with HIV, people don't take that word lightly. It'd be very hard to go on a date, and thankfully I have a boyfriend who stayed with me, and he's HIV negative. He will not get the virus from me. And but I'm thankful I haven't had to go out and date again with that title. And the thought of having to do that is honestly more terrifying than just having HIV, having to tell somebody that. And that's what kills people, is the stigma. I'm trying to get out my message to whoever will listen, that when you're undetectable, you can't pass it on. HIV is not this monster that it used to be. It's actually considered a manageable condition at this point because the medication's so good. But if you're not in the world of HIV, you wouldn't know that. And of course, I didn't know that either until it happened to me. So, to answer some questions, how did my family, children react when I told them my status? Well, actually, a lot of shock. Obviously, we were all in a lot of shock and disbelief, hoping that it was going to be a false positive. I felt so sick. I just wanted to get better, so I kind of took it that I was positive, because I just thought, what are the chances that I'm not? It came up positive for an antibody, and I mean, why else would I have a positive antibody? It had to be that, and I wanted to get medicated right away. I wanted to get better, so I accepted it faster than my family did. I'd say everybody was in just basic, it's just shock and disbelief. I mean, it's like they can't believe that this has happened to somebody that they know. And of course, I'm not a gay man, I'm not a drug user, so that was even more shocking, obviously. But obviously now with time and all that I've done on YouTube, and I now have a YouTube channel dedicated to my life with HIV, I think it's pretty normal for them now. My friends, colleagues at work, the main thing I get that is still frustrating for me, and it's people will give me the, well, you look really good. And that comment makes me cuckoo, because I am good. I'm totally healthy. If they could understand the amount of HIV that's in my body is so minute that it's doing absolutely nothing to me, I'm not a sick person. And that's one thing that frustrates me, is that I can't seem to get that point across enough. I still get that comment quite often, you know, that you look really good, you look healthy. Well, I am healthy. I'm not a sick person. I am a teacher. I'm a substitute teacher. I have not had any problems as far as where I work. No one's ever said anything to me. And I remember asking my nurse that in the beginning, like, what about work? My God, I work with children. She goes, they can't do anything to you. She goes, it's against the law. She goes, you'd have a huge lawsuit on your hands. So working hasn't been an issue at all. A lot of people know. I'm very open about it. It's on my Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. There's a lot of teachers that are friends with me on Facebook. It's no secret, but nobody, they've told me they're proud of me at times, but it's not a big topic of discussion. We don't really discuss it like, hey, how's your HIV today? I mean, we just don't talk about it. You know, they could easily watch me from their home and see a video and see how I'm doing, but I have plenty of work. I work every day. I'm a substitute teacher and I get calls constantly. How is it for you with doctors, dentists, for example? Do they need to know how they reacted? I actually love going into medical facilities that don't know me and writing that. It's weird. I actually like to write that I'm HIV positive to see how they treat that information. It's always a opportunity for me to educate if they don't know, and many don't. I mean, many don't know a lot about HIV. I have a friend who lives down the street who's a nurse well, not a close friend, but a neighbor. I recently told her many things about what is involved with being undetectable and untransmittable, and that I can't pass the virus on. She had no idea about that. This isn't like very well known information in the medical community, so I always love a chance to educate. And I don't know, I kind of enjoy the shock value of it all. I love to look super healthy and have them look at me and go, you have HIV? Like, what the heck? Yeah, I do, and I'm fine. And so I don't mind writing it down. It is weird for me when I see, you know, you have to check the box for HIV and AIDS, and I'm like, yeah, that's me now, you know, and I have to check that off. But I think that I'm not what anybody would expect. So in my case, it's not it's okay. But I've had people, I haven't really had anybody say anything. I've written it down, and I went to a dentist recently that I hadn't seen since I got it. I wrote it down, and I told the girl when I wrote it down, there's been a change in my health. You'll see it on there, but I'm fine now. And she just went, okay, and that was it. And nobody said anything else to me, and he actually never brought it up to me, which was really surprising. I thought he might. So I haven't had any problems with that. I did hear about a girl, one of the girls on my private page who's in the Philippines, who had some trouble with dentistry, that she was told that she couldn't go to a dentist anymore. And, you know, everybody on my private page was furious and said, oh my God, you absolutely are allowed to have dental care and you're no threat to anybody. That's one thing, is people with HIV have never been a threat to anybody in a casual situation. Never, ever. In the history of HIV, you can drink out of the same cup, you can kiss, you can eat after somebody. Those situations don't transmit HIV. It's always been through sex, needles, a mother to a fetus, through breast milk. Those are the ways that it's transmitted, and that's still the same way. But when you're undetectable, now with this medication, that's another option for not transmitting the virus. So there's condoms, they call it treatment as prevention. When you take your medication, that is prevention, because you're not going to pass it on. So that is great. I mean, we never could give it casually, and now we can't give it via sex. So that's amazing for us. Did you experience some social exclusion, or did you hear around, could be interesting to talk about in California? I really don't feel it. My boyfriend, maybe, we've talked about maybe how his friends might feel about it. They know about it. I went on a trip recently with 2 other couples from where he's from, and nobody talked about it. There's one that knows about it. They were all really fine. There's nobody brought it up, but I do wonder in the back of my mind, are they worried about my chip that went in the dip? You know, are they worried that, you know, the fork that went in my mouth? Are they worried that I sat on a toilet that they were going to use, or, you know, I drank from a glass that they might use later? I do think about those things, and I wonder if those things are running through their mind, because as somebody who used to be HIV negative, I would have thought those things. So it's in my head, but I haven't had anybody specifically say anything to me, other than trolls on YouTube who are really incredibly mean at times and write some really nasty stuff to me. But to my face, I haven't had anybody do that. So did I need a psychiatrist, or did you care for yourself? Do you think people should talk to a psychiatrist right after? I didn't talk to a psychiatrist. I wasn't really offered any counseling. I don't know why, and I felt like I should have been steered better. It was difficult when I found out. This doctor called me, who wasn't really my doctor. He was just a doctor I saw that day, and he just said, you know, I'm so sorry. And then we got off the phone, and I sat in silence, and with my boyfriend there and my daughter and my kids. By the way, they handled the information really great. They basically just saw me as mom was sick, mom needs to get better. They saw me get better, and they handled it. They all know what HIV is now. Kids that are younger, I notice when I, you know, have junior high classes, if they find out I have a YouTube channel, they'll ask about, well, what is HIV? Or, you know, they don't really seem to get it. It's different. It's generational. I saw a completely different world from HIV when I was growing up. I saw people on the news that were dying. Like, I live very close to San Francisco, so the gay community was basically practically wiped out from it. So it was a different time back then when there was no medication, and but the medication has come really far. It's practically a cure. I mean, if everybody today that had HIV was on medication and medicated, it would end right there. That's the end of the virus. So it's basically people need to test to find out if they have it. So if they have it, they can get on medication and not transmit it anymore. I think people should see a psychiatrist? Absolutely. I mean, my gosh, this is a very huge new realization, and those letters are terrifying. And it's hard to comprehend. Nobody plans to have HIV. Nobody wants to have a life with HIV. Nobody wants to have that in their medical file. And, you know, people won't tell people. And I find that's very common, is they won't tell family members. They'll go years and years and years and won't tell anybody, even though they're fine. They're just taking a pill and nobody knows it. You wouldn't believe how many people are walking out on the street right now with HIV who you don't even know it. They look like me. You know, and but people don't want to tell family members, and I always think, my God, the flu's really contagious. You sneeze in someone's face, that's more contagious than HIV. You give that to somebody, would you ostracize that person for having the flu? People die from the flu too, you know, and for HIV, it's very hard. It's very specific in the way it's transmitted. It is not casual contact. I could sneeze in somebody's face even if I was really sick and had AIDS at the time. And by the way, you cannot transmit AIDS. You could only transmit HIV, HIV turns into AIDS. A lot of people get confused with that. But I could have sneezed into somebody's face when I was really sick and I would not give it to them. It's not in saliva or pee or poo or sweat or tears. It's not in those things. Just something I have to take care of. No, I don't do anything differently than I did before. I take my pill every day at 7 o'clock at night, and I film it sometimes on my Instagram story, but I don't do anything any different. I'm a vegetarian, so I eat pretty healthy. I've never been a vitamin taker, so I didn't change that in any way. Exercise I get through surfing and skateboarding, and I really don't do there's nothing precautionary. I just live my life like I normally always did. I'm not limited in any activity. I can't give blood. That's an activity, I guess. I don't know. Limited in any other way. There is nothing stopping me from doing anything. I live my life the same. Do you think that society is educated? No. Society is far from educated, and I was too. And if it's not in your world, why would you be? I know that my whole stance with HIV and what I do on my YouTube channel is to fight stigma, and I realize it's a gigantic glacier that I'm trying to get past, and I probably will only make a little tiny dent. It's just the stigma that surrounds this virus is so strong, and it's really hard to change people's minds. Even just me putting out a video about the fact that you can have sex with somebody who's HIV positive and you're HIV negative, as long as they're undetectable, you can't pass it on. That information makes people angry. It makes them mad. Like, how could you put that information out there? It's like, it's supported by the CDC. It was just in the Lancet, which is a medical journal. It's like this #2 rated medical journal in the world. It's called U equals U is the name of the campaign. Undetectable equals to untransmittable. But that information frustrates people, and they get mad because they're set in their ways with their biases, and it's hard. But yeah, even the medical community isn't completely educated on this topic. I'm incredibly educated on it now because it's in me, so I got the education, and that's very typical with people with HIV. We learn about it because it's in us and we need to know more about it. Do you think it's necessary to keep talking on this theme and educate? Yeah, for sure. I'll never stop. I mean, as long as the virus is there, that's all I'm going to do is keep showing my life in a positive light and show people that this is my life with HIV and it's not affecting me in any way. I just want people to know that we're normal people, just like everybody else. But I do realize there is two sides of the fence. There's the positive and the negative. And we are probably, in people's minds, for me at least, I know I'm probably thought of differently now. But I haven't had anybody, do anything to me specifically to make my life more difficult. Oh, I do know people in other countries who are not allowed to travel to other countries. There's a girl in, I believe it's the Philippines. I can't remember where she was going to go. Germany. She was a pharmaceutical student. She's going to be a pharmacist. I'm not sure it's Germany, but there was another country she wouldn't be allowed to go now because she's HIV positive. That frustrates me because she's undetectable. She was born with it. And so her rights to travel have been stopped. That blows my mind. Like, she's no threat to anybody at all. And it's like she's as much of a threat as somebody without HIV with a broken toenail. I mean, there's nothing wrong with her. She can't transmit the virus to anybody. So that's frustrating to me. Okay, I've gone on maybe long enough here. If you want to check me out, I have a YouTube channel called Jeniffer's Positive HIV Life. And check out my videos. I have my first video that I put out. I did one on my 16 symptoms that I realized I had throughout those 2.5 years before I was diagnosed. Those videos have been seen quite a bit, and they've done well. And I've put out about 70-something other videos just on my life with HIV. Some of it surfing, some of it skating, some about my boyfriend and my kids, and just my life with HIV and how I live it and what I believe about it, and some really incredible stories about people that are living with it. And a lot of fear that's gone on with people that don't have HIV, that think they have it. There's a lot of HIV phobia in the world, a lot. And I deal with those people all the time. They write to me nonstop, and I'm constantly trying to put out little fires all the time. So test for HIV for sure, especially if you've been in some high-risk situation. This is my two animals in my videos a lot. This is Sky, and my dog Finn back there. So anyways, thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions for me, you can find me through my website at Jeniffer Vaughan, and it's VAUGHAN.org. I have a contact tab on there, and you can write to me, and I won't promise that I'll get back right away. I have so many messages I'm trying to get through, but if you have a question for me, feel free to write to me through there. Okay, Kino Labs, thank you.